So the Mayor is happy for the following to be included in the original, and after discussions with Deputy Mayor, the Mayor, it's really clear that the policy is about the contestable, but we're also noting that the non-contestable grants across the council group, so that it will include that unusual Auckland transport one that we're not quite sure of the details yet. It'll also include the various work, we've appointed someone to be working on the RAFA and the museum and the MOTAT stuff already. And that is all legislative, so it's non-contestable. We have to fund it, so that will happen. But what we've asked here, and the team, although they're not the team that normally work on that, will say they'll bring it back in a joined up manner so we can see it transparently. Apologies, I thought it was clear at the beginning, but we're just going to make sure that it does include that. But that the actual focus right now, the main focus, and hopefully it can be faster than the time in the agenda, is this community grants policy, the contestable, and that is to give councillors and local board members and everyone the right framework, and the staff, the right framework to why or why not we'd be funding certain grants to certain places. The other non-contestable stuff, it needs to also be acknowledged, but it'll be quite different to why is the museum being funded compared to why should these groups receive a $20,000 grant, etc. So they're quite different, but they are, as the Mayor has been clear, they are connected and people should transparency. Yeah, and it's happening. Right. So I'll go back to the vote that we almost got.
When you said I'm happy, I'll live with that, but I would rather have been hard-nosed. I just want to check around. Was I the only person who mistakenly thought we were covering the whole lot?
No.
Because I'm pretty bloody sure I wasn't.
I thought the same.
So what I'm suggesting here is if we are going to be voting on things and we're forced to read pages and pages of stuff here, that it has to be bloody well clear what we are. Because if I'd have thought that we were really going to have 2 years to discuss 25 million, I'd have exploded. Because 25 million is kind of like not even a day's turnover of this organisation. And so, and again, we don't put in here the cost to do this stuff. I mean, if you could have 10 staff here working for 2 years, which would cost us 20 million, and to discuss 25 million. Well, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. This is a very poor paper. And was I alone in not...
this is not good policy, Mayor, to be asking everyone. It's very clear in the attachments, but it's also clear through the 21 points it goes through. This is about contestable, community group policy goes down, and then in the first points, it's then very clear this does not include the non-contestable grants of approximately 200 million, and then it lists everything, and then you go through the attachments, and it's very clear what is and isn't out. So it's not my problem if people aren't reading the...
Oh, no. It is definitely your problem that people are writing stuff. I'm sure that I was not the only person, because it says under context. The context includes all these other things, and so it should have said in the context, shouldn't have put them in there. The context is we're only talking about this. It doesn't say that. The context also improves a whole lot of, and you're thinking, shit, oh dear, no wonder we're worried about this. And so transport grants, is under item 38. We're going to get that coming in. Contestable grants administered on behalf of third parties. It doesn't say which ones we're going to do on. It doesn't actually say that we're excluding the ones administered on behalf of third parties or include.
It says it in the body of the report, and then as soon as you go to the out of scope, it lists them all very clearly.
Yeah,
anyway,
but it doesn't say they're not in, or does it say they're in?
It says out of scope. Anyway, this is not good standing orders to go back and forth, but I will...
I suppose that, but it's not good standing order. It's not good to produce papers where a significant number of people who read everything have got it wrong.
Perhaps if we'd been able to have a workshop on this, Mayor, then we could have discussed some of this in that context too.
Mr. Chair, I just want to say that I read the paper, those first bits. I haven't gone through the whole thing and interrogated it, but those first bits, I saw that the 200 was disconnected. But then the discussion around the table led me to believe, that was a more wholesome discussion. So at the end of it, I'd been sitting here. The reason I wanted to second the mayor in the first place was that I too understood what he thought was taking place. Thank you.
So everyone's had their speaking turn. It is not my fault if people go completely off the agenda item and haven't read the attachments, because that is literally our job, and that always happens on a myriad of issues. So it's very clear in the 21 paragraphs what it is and what it isn't, and it's very clear. 38, the following will be out of scope, and it lists them all. It lists them all on the first page, and then it asks you to go to the attachments, and it's even clearer, and it has the funding amount. So, look, I feel this is a little embarrassing. We're sitting here teaching ourselves how to read a report. So I will move back to the
I
vote.
take great offence at that, because you're telling us that we don't know how to read the report. During the course of this debate, in fact, at the very beginning of this debate, I pointed out to Councillor Williamson on my left here that on page 78, when I was analysing the trade-offs and the pros and the cons, that there was, for my mind, a gap in terms of identifying the more holistic nature that some of us thought was going to be included in this full review and refresh. And I actually said to Councillor Williamson, should this be the subject of an amendment? Now, I take umbrage at you suggesting that I don't know how to read a report. I do know how to read a report,
Okay,
but
that's
there
not
can
a
be
speaking turn.
ambiguity at times, and therefore I don't believe it is inappropriate for us to tease out what everyone's understanding on this might be. Now, it could be that you want to recommend to the mayor he go back and look at his delegations, but I would have thought this is the policy committee, and therefore we are entitled to raise broader issues around policy.
Councillor Fletcher, that's fine, but there wasn't a question on that. I will just read again the scope. If you go to the third page, the scope for the review. In scope, contestable discretionary grants, regional and local. Other contestable and grants. Then it goes 38. The following will be out of scope. Council expenditure from service level agreements, Māori outcomes funding, that ARAFA funding, MOTAT funding, Memorial Museum funding, Auckland Transport grants, contestable grants programs administered on behalf of third parties. I agree. Yeah. So, but I'm being very clear that it's very clear in the paper. So we can keep going back and forth, but all those in favour? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We will go to lunch for 45 minutes. We'll clean and come back at 1:30, so